Okay, great. So for the purpose of this class, I just wanted to give everybody a heads up. This class will be recorded so that we can send a replay to everybody because it's going to be hands-on training. Sorry, demo session where I will be demonstrating and doing a lot of workings. You may not, you at some point you may drop off or you may not be catching along. So we would record the session and send it to you. All right. So we'll just wait for a few more seconds or a few more minutes rather, like 4 minutes. Then we'll start the class. How about you, Ibukun? Where are you joining from?
I'm joining from Washington State, Ileife to be precise.
Ileife. Oh, we have a staff member who also lives in Ileife. Her name is Jedida. I'm not sure she's on the call yet. And how is Ife? I believe Ife is very peaceful.
Yes, very, very peaceful. So,
Ah, the way you even said is very, very. It's like I should come and start living in Ife.
at least pretty much more peaceful than Lagos and better fresh air here compared to Lagos.
There's fresh air in Lagos. All of you that are bad mouthing Lagos. There's also fresh air here as well.
Lagos is just vibes and inshallah. I beg. Nothing like Lagos.
Oh well,
Yeah,
another
and there's
angle.
stable electricity here. I actually stay in the staff quarters.
Oh, okay.
It gets OAU here, so
There's
that's
stable electricity there. I
very
see.
stable compared to Lagos, though.
Nice. Well done and welcome.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. Who? I think somebody else joined. Let's just Zainab. What's up? Good afternoon. We're just chilling for people to join in. We'll start soon. Good
Yeah, good
afternoon.
afternoon. No, how's everyone doing?
Fine, fine.
Good to be
Oh,
here.
good to be here too. How's work today?
Yeah, it was fine. Not boring, but very, very stressful.
It's like you still have that burst of energy from work. You still have a lot of it.
Yeah, something like that. Been looking forward to this class, so I think it's still the energy that is still there.
Oh, nice. Makes sense. All right, good. So please keep up the energy. I hope I don't pour water on the energy. I'm trusting God to
No,
help
no,
you keep up the
yeah,
energy.
go ahead.
All right. Fumi Lola. What's up? Fumi is my friend, by the way, guys. Fumi, good evening. Fumi, can you hear us? Oh, okay. So we'll just wait. So we have 2 minutes to 6 p.m. and we will just we'll start at 6, right?
Hi, Tayo. Good evening. Sorry, I was on a call.
Oh. Oh, okay, that explains it then. We're just saying hi to you. Augustina. So as usual, Adenike, I'm going to make you a co-host so you can admit people. Hi, Augustina. Good evening
Hello, good evening.
and welcome. How was work today?
It was fine, thank you.
Right. It appears everybody who's on the call today had a very fantastic day at work, and because I'm feeling the energy. I'm basically feeling the energy of people in the room. So it's 6 p.m. and we're going to start. We're going to start right away. We would trust every other person to to just join in. All right. So give me a minute. Let me quickly make Hadenike a co-host so she can assist with managing the class as we go along. All right. Good evening, everyone. My name is Oluwatayo, and I lead the team at Techlytics. Thank you for trusting us, and thank you for joining the call so early. People joined as early as 10 minutes to. Some people even came before me. All right, thank you so much for coming to the call, and we'll just get started and right into it, and after a few introductions. But let's just get to introduce ourselves in the next 2 minutes thereabout, then we close that out, and we'll get into the topic for the day. So my name is Oluwatai. I'm joining from Lagos. So on the call or in the chat room, please introduce yourself. Fumilola, let me just assume Fumi is joining from Lagos. So Fumi would say, oh, her name is Fumi and she's joining from Lagos. So before now, I've met Ibukun. Ibukun is joining from Ife in Osun State. I've also met Zainab. I didn't ask where Zainab joined from. I've also met Abdallah. Abdallah is joining from Ethiopia. I hope I've not mixed that up. So please put it in the chat room. Let's know where you're joining from and as others are coming in. And yeah, so let's keep it going in the chat room. Tayo joining from Lagos. So let me start that. Okay, so let's keep that started, and we will start examining the topic for today. So as a ritual, we usually would do it. Techlytics, what Techlytics is, what we stand to do, especially if you're joining these sessions for the very first time. So we basically, just like I mentioned earlier, it's a ritual that by ritual, I mean for every Techlytics event, we necessarily read out what we are about and why we're doing this. So yes, I'll be sharing my screen and I'll start with that. Thank you. I can see a lot of people joining, and I can also see people telling us where they're joining from. And welcome, Abiodun from Abuja. Adenike, yes. All right, so for people who are coming in, so Adenike, please help me put it in the chat room for them. They can introduce themselves, their first name, and where they are joining us from. All right, so let's get that going. Augustina is from Jos, but visiting Lagos. Good to have you. Agnes, good to see you again. Agnes is a regular person, so her name has stuck in my head. Right. All right. Thank you so much. That appears to be a diverse set of people on the call, and I'm happy. I'm happy people are very punctual this time around. Well, people have always been punctual, right? So, I see a lot of Lagosians. Interesting. So I'm going to just go straight into introducing Techlytics, especially for people who are joining for the very first time. Not everybody is a returning user. So I'm just going to go straight into it. What we do at Techlytics. Techlytics is two-faced, or we have two faces in Techlytics. We aim to, or we pride in calling ourselves a technology workforce development company, and also we're a consulting company. Technology workforce development bit of Techlytics is what is powering this session we're having right now. We're able to train ambitious professionals like yourself. We're able to train you, empower you to reskill into thriving in this world of technology, whether you want to transition in your career or you have an organization or a small business and you basically want to keep in trends with technological skills that is available. So first off, we're rolling out with data analytics and product management. The data analytics front, that's why you're here. On the consulting part of things, we also handle projects for clients being startups who wants to build a digital product and they do not know how to go about it. So we're able to come into play and give them product management advice, and we are also able to help them see the project through from ideation to launch. And also, if enterprises who want to digitize their current processes, operational processes, they basically see a need to make things digital, we also do consulting in that regard. So in the last 3 years, Techlytics started in 2020, May 2nd of 2020 to be precise. However, we didn't start with the name Techlytics. Started with Rainmaker Online. Some of you who are subscribed to the YouTube channel, if you go to the older videos on YouTube, you see things like the Rainmaker Online. Techlytics started since 2020, and from then, I have personally taught in EdTech schools and have had custom classes for students, and cumulatively I've taught up to 3,000 fellows in HR analytics, data analytics, or as a part of a data science fellowship program. Right, so but right now, Techlytics is largely teaching data analytics and product management. All right, so basically that's the background of what Techlytics is, and the problem we're trying to solve is to be able to empower people and organizations to be able to reskill and thrive in this amazing maze of technology. So basically this is our attraction, but for the sake of time, I'm just going to jump straight into the masterclass session. These are the fantastic brains behind Techlytics team. There's a missing face here. We're going to update this presentation as time goes along. All right, thank you, everyone. I see that a lot more people have joined the call, and I see a lot more people have joined the call, people from Lagos, Port Harcourt, and thank you so much. So we're just going to talk about data cleaning today. At one point or the other, I want to assume, or I want to believe you've heard the word data cleaning, or probably you've heard the word bad data or dirty data, right? So truly, data can be dirty, data can be bad. So we want to explore ways that you can, or techniques that you can use to clean data. Last week, we had a session around around data transformation, which is basically also a part of data cleaning, or which data cleaning is a part of, right? So we explored data transformation. However, we used Power Query, which is a powerful tool within Microsoft Excel that we basically use that. But today, we're just going to be working within Microsoft Excel itself, and we're going to look at a huge data set already prepared that is quite dirty, or that is not entirely put in a structured manner, or that is not fit for analyzing, right? So we're going to do that, and we'll explore techniques to clean that particular data. So I want to believe that there are times you probably look at some data, you see blanks, or you see some missing values, and you're wondering, or it basically puts you in a place where you spend the entire, maybe another 5 hours trying to standardize that data first before you even proceed to your analysis. In the real sense, the data analysis process is where the major work is in the cleaning or standardizing of that particular data set before you even start consuming it at all. So you've done the data analysis process, basically involved data collection. So how are you collecting data? Are you downloading it from your website, or are you asking somebody to get it from you from a database? Or if you have some basic skills around using SQL or using Python, where are you getting data from? So first off is data collection. So let's assume you've even collected your data, or they presented the data to you. Probably you're scraping it from a website, or you're picking it from a PDF, or there's a text file somebody has provided you with. Your data can come from any source. Now, the next thing you want to do is look at the data, standardize it. Standardize in the sense that is the ones that are supposed to be in caps, are they in caps? The ones, are there some things that has been misspelled, or are there currency format that are not entirely good, or are there trailing spaces somewhere, or are there numbers that were formatted as text? You want to basically look at all of these things and make sure that everything that's supposed to be text should be text. The things that are supposed to be numbers or figures, they're actually numbers and figures, and all of that before you can even start, putting 2 plus 2 together, or analyzing or inserting charts and graphs and all of that, and trying to bring out meaning out of that data set. So that is usually in your data analysis process. That is usually where you spend the bulk of your time if care is not taken. So this evening, we're going to explore the techniques that you can use to basically clean data, standardize it, and then plug it into whatever analysis you want to do. Probably then set up a pivot table or build a data model around it. But first of all, standardize the data. So that's what we want to do. So I'm going to be sharing my screen right now, and I'll walk us through a particular data set. We'll go through a story. We'll read a story together, and we'll basically then treat. We'll basically then treat the accompanying data. So let me know once you can see my screen.
Yes, I can see your screen.
All right, good. Thank you. So we're going to just read the story. Now, this is the story of Adeyemi, who is a new data analyst in one of the superstores in Lagos State. By the way, this story is fictional, but you get the gist. So once upon a time in the bustling city of Lagos, there lived a diligent data analyst called Adeyemi, or named Adeyemi. He was the backbone of the Adrenaline group of stores, a chain of thriving retail outlets scattered across 3 states in Nigeria. Adeyemi had always been fascinated by the power of data, and he had a knack for turning raw information into valuable insights that guided the decision-making process at Adrenaline Group. On a sunny morning, as Adeyemi sipped his favorite cup of coffee, he received an urgent message from the financial controller, Mr. Johnson. The message read, Adeyemi, I need you to analyze the data for Adrenaline Group of stores, ASAP. We've got critical decisions to make, and we need the insight from the data. Please work your magic, which means they trusted Adeyemi with whatever data analysis they needed to do. Now, Adeyemi was thrilled to tackle this new challenge. He promptly received the data files, but as he opened them, his excitement turned into a furrowed brow. The data was a mess, rows upon rows of information, scattered and unstructured. Dates were wrongly written, product names were inconsistent, and there were even some missing values. Now, Adeyemi knew that before he could start the analysis at all, he had to clean the data and get into a usable format. And the tool of choice for this daunting task was his trusted companion, Microsoft Excel. All right, so with determination, he got to work, employing several essential functions and tools in Excel to transform the messy data into a well-organized data set. So we're going to look at the data set together now, and truly, the data is messy. All right, so for the sake of time, so this is the data set. I'm sharing my entire screen, so I believe you all can see the screen. So this is the data set, and we're going to, first of all, look through the data card. The data card basically is a tab we've created to explain each column, what each column in that data set, what they stand for. So you at least have a context of what you want to work on is like. Now, in the data set, there is a column called Product Supermarket Identifier. There's a column called Product Supermarket Identifier. Basically, that column has a record, or that column has details, is a unique code of each product and the unique code of the seller, that is Chukwudi. That is, Chukwudi is the name of the owner that is used to codes. So basically, this column, Product Supermarket Identifier, is one column, but we can see the fusion of a product code and the name of the store, NCA 29_Chukwudi 046, of which, as time goes on, Adeyemi wants to identify the particular store that is selling what product. So if the product code and the name of the store is put together, then Adeyemi needs to find a way to separate them. So that's number one. Number two, product weight, the weight of each product in the column. There are some missing values that needs to be replaced. So we can look at product weight column. So we can already see that they are blanks, right? So which means Adeyemi has some questions to ask. He really needs to ask some questions around, okay, what's going on? Was it that these weights were not imputed from when they were stocking this inventory? There's just some diagnosis that needs to happen. There's some questions that needs to be asked. Right, so let's look at the other one. Product fat content, the fat content of each product. The fat content of each product to determine if fat content is a sales determinant. In the column, there are spelling mistakes that need to be corrected. So let's look at product fat content. The product fat content. So we can see here, we can see low fat. We can see a lot of inconsistency with the spelling. So let's look at the entire column. In this entire data set, we have over 2,000 rows. So let me quickly insert a filter button and we'll see the how bad the inconsistency is. So we can see in that entire column, some product fat contents just have L, then you see L fat, you see low fat, then you see low fat, then you see low FT, you see LWFAT, you see normal fat, you see normal without an A. So you can see some inconsistencies in the spelling. So how on God's good earth is Adeyemi supposed to make good sense of this data? It can't go ahead with this. It needs to standardize it to the correct spelling of low fat, correct spelling of normal fat. Let's look at the data card again. Product type, the type of product, they're also spelling mistake. It's baking goods, and so you can see there are no standardization around it, right? Product price, the cost price of the product. We look at price. Where's the price now? We can see that while it looks like it's in numbers, we necessarily need to format it into a currency mode, right? Supermarket opening year, the supermarket opening year, there are also errors because the dates or the years, some years were written as S004. There's no way it's going to be able to perform analysis on that, right? So let's look at it. You can see S006. And these things happen in real life because you find yourself having to deal with messy data like this, not to talk of if those data run into hundreds of thousands. So in this case, we're trying to basically establish that, oh, this data is truly, truly dirty. Which other one? Supermarket size. The size of the supermarket, there are differences in the case. So you probably have seen medium, small, high. So which means you see medium. Some of them are not even basically, the spellings are not correct. So you basically need to think of, okay, how do we want to standardize them? Do you want to have them all as lower cases or all as caps? Supermarket location type, location of the store, product supermarket sales, price the item was sold, currency formatting. So basically, we have a lot to deal with, but for the purpose of this class, we're going to look at 4 concepts. No, we're going to look at 5 concepts. We'll look at how we can correct or standardize the spellings. We'll look at how we can correct the dates. They are very similar. We'll look at how we can switch text, like this text now, we can split it into columns. We'll look at how we will treat blanks. We can see blanks all over. Look at how we can treat blanks. We'll look at how we can format the price as currency, and within 1 hour we should be done. All right, so that's the plenty work that we want to do this evening. However, I want to feel the pulse of the class. If you were presented with this kind of data set, how would you first of all, how would you approach treating the spellings? Anybody in the house? How would you approach treating the spellings, the ones with spelling mistakes, like those low fat that we saw? Anybody wants to try?
Can we use find and replace?
Sorry, I'm coming. 1 minute. I want to come back to Google. Sorry, who spoke?
Please,
Can we use find and replace?
Damilola.
Damilola, yes, certainly we can use find and replace. So it's part of the thing we would it's part of the methods we're going to use. Well, of course, I'm going to teach us like 3 methods. Then you would decide by yourself which one you believe is faster, especially if you have large data sets. All right, thank you, Damilola. Find and replace would work. Any other person wants to give us an idea of how they would treat that data or that data set?
For me,
Any other person?
okay, Zainab is speaking.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, so I feel I would filter for each item for the low fat and the high fat. So I'll first filter for the L fat, and then I'll change it. I'm trying to figure out how to explain it, but
Don't
I
worry,
shall know that
continue.
I'll use the filter mode.
Mm-hmm. So you will now manually start writing the correct spellings in front of them, right? Or just
Okay, assuming I can do something practical, I'll just fill in the first answer, then do the drag down. Then I'll
okay.
just drag it and I'll get what I'm doing.
Okay, thank you so much. So Damilola says she will do find and replace. Ayodele Zainab says she will do filter and she will just edit the stuffs. You're both correct, right? And those are one of two of the ways that I have written down in my notes. There are other ways. We could use text functions like substitute, and but there's another way we could actually automate it which means maybe next tomorrow another one comes in. You can basically just refresh your data and it just goes. So let's quickly see. I'm going to share my screen again. So let's start with how we can treat the spellings or the spelling errors. Right, I'm sharing my screen again. I'm sharing my entire screen. In case you see anything incriminating on my screen, please just carry eyes. That's my disclaimer usually. So, but you won't see anything incriminating right away. All right, this is in the, let me close this one. Okay, so let's start with the simplest that I believe. So let's start with splitting this product code and the supermarket identifier. Remember, they were merged or put together. So in this case, you want to see, in this case, if you look at this column that I am in, it has NCA 29 underscore Chukudi, blah, 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 which Chukudi is the name of the store, or the name of Chukudi 1046, Chukudi 046 is the name of the store. And you really need to split it, because if you leave it this way, there's really no way you would be able to analyze that data set. It's not going to treat it as, because you can see Chukudi 1046, there's another 1046 here, but it has, and so it's not entirely a good representation of your data set. But usually, before I even do anything at all, before I start working on whether I'm doing data cleaning or I even want to study analysis itself, I usually prefer to work in structured reference, in a structured manner. So I would insert the entire data set, I'll put it in tables. So by the way, we also have micro tutorials on YouTube. So if you need to understand what structured referencing is about, I'm going to be teaching some other functions while on this call. If we are not able to go deeper, or if you do not understand while we're on the call, of course you have the replay, and you can also go on YouTube. You will see some tutorials around VLOOKUP, because I'm going to be using VLOOKUP on this call. All right, so first of all, I'm going to insert a table. So I'll use Ctrl+T to insert a table. There's this dialog box here, this small guy. You can see all the active cell within, because my active cell within the entire data set. Excel has automatically determined where data is in my entire worksheet. So I'm going to check this, leave this box checked. That is, my table has headers. I'm going to say, okay, so everything can look neater. If I wanted to change the style of the table, I could do that. So I just quickly did that. Then I already have my format, my filter buttons applied. Now I look at this guy and I'm like, I want to split this NCA Chukudi, which means I want to see NCA 29 one side, then Chukudi 046 in another column. So I'm going to first of all create another empty column, that is an empty column where it can be split into, anything that spills over can be split into. So I'm just going to create a column beside it. I would use my mouse to right click, and I'm going to just insert like this. So I'm going to write supermarkets as the column header, supermarkets. Right, so what I'm going to do now is I will highlight this column that I want to split. Then I'll come to the data tab here. In the data tab, I'll come to the data tools group. This is a group where I want to use text to columns feature. So I'm going to click text to column. Now, if we look closely at our data set, there is a unique identifier, there is a delimiter. Delimiter meaning what joins them together. What is that unique thing as Excel? What can Excel look at and look at that unique thing that joins them together that can use to separate them? In other cases, so we can see closely that we can see the underscore. So underscore is our delimiter. In some cases, it could be space. So it could just be space to say where you find space, just, split them. Or in some cases, it could be apostrophe. It could be anything, actually. So this wizard is basically asking me, choose the file type that best describes your data. So delimited means characters such as commas or stars separate each field. So I'm going to, because the delimiter here is iPhone, or was underscore, so I'm just going to go ahead, leave it as delimited, go to next. Then I can see the preview, because Excel has automatically determined. In other cases, It may not be true, but Excel has determined and has checked this other box and has seen the underscore. If you feel it is not underscore, if you feel it is space, you can take it out and write something else. So when I took it out, okay, Excel put it back to me to say, okay, what exactly is separating, or what should I use to disjoin them? So in this case, still underscore. So I'm going to write underscore back, and it's giving me a preview of what it looks like. Now I'm going to say next. So basically, I want to look through it. Does it look good? Does it look good? I can choose the format, but we're not going to all of that. So basically, this is a preview, and I'm going to say finish. Now, this one is coming up because it needs to split this into two, and I only have one empty column. So I'm just going to create another empty column so it's able to do that. A minute. So I'm just going to insert another one, and I'm going to just quickly repeat that process and say next and next. Right. So this is what the preview looks like when it finishes splitting them, and I'll say finish. Now we have been able to split out. I don't need this other guy. So I've been able to split or remove the Siamese twins. So if I wanted to, what's the word now? If I wanted to analyze based on supermarket alone, I can see the unique supermarket codes. If I wanted to identify based on product codes alone, so I'm going to clean this and call it product codes, and I'll call this one supermarket codes. Is that clear, please?
Yes.
All right, cool. Thank you. So
Yes, ma'am.
thank you. So that's product codes, that's supermarket codes. So that's the first cleaning that we wanted to do on this call. So text to column. So we've been able to do text to column. So let's look at how we can correct the spelling. We're going to use Zainab's method, and I've forgotten the other person. We're going to use the find and replace, and we're going to use filter. Now let's start from the product fat content, the one that has, so let's start with the first person's suggestion of find and replace. So which means wherever we see this low fat, that is LO fat, we want to replace, we know the correct spelling is LOW, right? So which means we want to tell Excel that everywhere you see LO fat, replace it with LOW, right? So I'm going to just copy this and do Control H, which should bring my find and replace. And it says find what, right? I'll put it there, and you say, what am I replacing with? I'll say low fat, correct? I can do that and say replace all. And you say, oh, we only saw 4, which is fine. So I'll close it. However, we have more than, apart from that LOFAT, we still have other places that has L. We have other places that have LW. So we've replaced the first one. We can see there are about 4 other ones that are incorrect still. So which means we have to do this find and replace for all of them, correct? Now, I just wanted to show us the find and replace method. That's method 1. So you can imagine if you have a large data set, or if you have up to 20 of them, you're going to have to do this 20 times. Or if you have 100 of them, you're going to have to do this 100 times, which is not very fantastic. Now, let's use the other method of, Zainab says she will filter it out. So let's filter it out and replace. So which basically means Zainab will do something like this and check the ones that has an incorrect spelling of L, or she can even check multiple ones. And let's say these are the incorrect ones, right? So which means Zainab will now manually, God bless us, or God bless her, let's say she has 100,000 of them that has very funny spellings. So Zainab will manually input 100,000 into it. Zainab, can you see that?
Can.
So that one is very, very wonderful. So Falasha just said, I'd make the data set a table first to make my life. Oh, okay. Okay, substitute. Yes, we'll touch on substitute to Falasha, and we'll see the limitation of substitute. Right. So somebody's hand is raised. So just give me 1 minute. Let's finish this thought process, and I would take questions and comments. However, if you feel it cannot wait, please put it as a chat in the chat room. All right. So now Zainab, which means if you filter this way, you're going to, if the result came to 100,000, which means you would have to do it one after the other. So I'm going to just Control Z. I will also Control Z for the find and replace that we did earlier. So my low fat is back. Now let's also use Folashade's method of, let's use substitute. That is, we want to use substitute as a text function. So I'm going to insert another column. I don't want to insert copied cells. 1 minute, please. Which is wrong. So I'm going to insert another column and we'll try the substitute method. Where is the low fat? Okay, here. So substitute has 3 arguments, if I'm correct. So I'm going to write substitute. Okay, yeah, 3 arguments. The other one is an optional argument. Now in Microsoft Excel, you have functions. Functions are basically pre-programmed formula inside Microsoft Excel that helps you complete whatsoever thing you need to resolve, or that helps you solve problems faster. So substitute is a function. Each time I select a function and I open this bracket, since I'm sharing my entire screen, I believe you can see something around text, old text, new text, and instance number. All of these words, right? They are called arguments. That is argument text. So Excel is basically asking you what text do you want to reference, the old text, then the new text. So in substitute, so let's say I want to reference, so the first argument says text, and I want to reference the text, which is low fat. So I've referenced it. So Excel is asking me, the next argument says, what's the old text? So I'm going to put it in inverted commas. That is, the old text is LOFAT, and put it in inverted commas, right? What's the new text? I want to write the correct spelling of low fat, and I'll say LOFAT, inverted commas. I won't fulfill that last argument because it's optional. It didn't occur in more than one instance. It only occurred in one instance. So I'm just going to, as far as this cell is concerned, it only occurred in one instance. So I'm just going to close my brackets and I'll hit enter button. Now, truly it has corrected to low fat. However, it means that it's only corrected to low fat anywhere you saw LOFAT. So anywhere you saw LFAT, we'll still have our incorrect thing there, right? So let's look at it. So which means while low fat has gone, okay, let's look at this new one. While LOFAT has gone, we still have L. We have L fat. We have LW fat. We have LOWFT. And those are still misspellings or incorrect spellings. So substitute is a great option, but which means you have to do for all of them like this. And that is that may be tedious. So let's look at the last, or maybe like there are 2 other options, but the ones for the purpose of this data cleaning class, we're going to look at a correction table and how you would use a two column correction table. You can also use Power Query. For people who were in the last class for last week, we saw how we could use Power Query to clean data. So for the person who said Folashade, so substitute is a great, using the function substitute, the text function substitute is great, but it still gives you a lot, you will still use a lot more time to figure things out. Now, to use a correction table, I will be using 2 functions. 2 functions in Microsoft Excel. So for Folashade, I'm going to delete this, or well, maybe not for Folashade, so the entire class, I'm going to be deleting this column that we created for substitute. So, right. So we're going to look at two column correction table and what it entails. We're going to be using 2 functions. Function 1 is if error, and function 2 is called VLOOKUP. While I will not assume everybody understands what if error is and what VLOOKUP is, I'm just going to quickly do a brief overview of these 2 functions and what they entail. For an if error, you only have 2 arguments inside if error. So I'm going to call if error. So if error, you can see it says it returns value if error, if expression is an error, and the value, basically, what this error says in layman language, or what this function does in layman language, is you're basically telling Excel that if you found an error, if the answer, as I'm writing this function, if by the time you will give me a result, if you're going to come up with an error that is, if you're going to come up with all those -NA or all those funny error messages that Excel has, instead of you giving me all those funny looking error messages, I will specify a value to you. That's it. Instead of, if you're going to see if error, just write not found. You can do that. Or if you're going to give me those funny error messages, write 0. If you're going to give me funny error messages, write Adenike. Or if you're going to give me funny error messages, just say your head is not correct. You know, instead of you seeing those error messages, right? This is basically what the if error does. So you can see there are 2 arguments inside it. You see value and value if error. Usually, if error can be used alone, but there are times that you nest it with other functions. By nest, I mean you use other functions inside it. So, for example, in this case, you can see that if error has 2 arguments, that is, it has value and value if error. That argument that has value, if you don't even know the value you want to tell it, you can put a function inside that place to say, okay, I don't know the value. I just want to search for the value actually. So you can put your function for that you want to use to search for that value. You can put it inside if error and fulfill the second argument. I'm sincerely hoping to God that you're following. All right. So basically, let's just do a small example of how if error would work. So let's say we said, okay, basically it can work well with, it can really work well with VLOOKUP. So ideally, if I want to use if error, so it says value. Basically, if I say, let's say value is, I don't know, Adenike. Adenike, your name is what? So value if error, I can basically say 0. So if I hit enter, and because I didn't put any logical function to it, it returned Adenike to me. But if I asked it to look for, let's say I asked it to look for Adenike inside something, so if error, and I'll say value, if the value is look for Adenike, but if you don't find Adenike, give me 0. So I'm just going to quickly use a VLOOKUP to do that. So I'm going to say VLOOKUP, the lookup value is the word Adenike, table array. So I'm asking it to look for Adenike here. Give me from column 2 and give me an exact match. So I'm saying look for Adenike, but if you don't find Adenike, just return something called not found. And I'm putting it in inverted commas because it's text. Right. Now, because there is no Adenike in this entire table, if error just returns not found for me because Adenike is not there. So basically, that's what if error does. Now, let me talk about VLOOKUP. The VLOOKUP I quickly used inside that value. Now, VLOOKUP is, as the name implies, is a lookup function. You use it to search for things. Some of us might have heard about VLOOKUP. There are several lookup functions in Microsoft Excel. The most recent or the most powerful being the XLOOKUP that came out with Excel 2019. Well, it came as an update to Excel 2019. So if you have Excel 2019 to Excel 365, I'm using 365, you would be able to find XLOOKUP. So I digress. So that is VLOOKUP. So VLOOKUP has 4 arguments. Let's quickly read what VLOOKUP does. It looks for a value in the leftmost column of a table and then returns a value in the same row from a column you specify. By default, the table must be sorted in an ascending order. That's plenty story. So it has 4 arguments. Argument 1 is lookup value. That is, what are you looking for? The table array, the column index number, and the range lookup. Usually, I like to tell a story when I want to explain VLOOKUP. So it's like you have 2 cars. You have a Bentley and you have a Mercedes. They are both parked in your garage. And you want to go out, but you forgot to take the key to the car that you're driving out. So you tell your child to say, Folashade, get me the key to my car. And Folashade will look at you and say, Mommy, which key? There are 2 cars in the car park, or there are 2 cars in the garage. And you basically say, oh, get me the key to the Bentley. That's your lookup value. That's what Folashade should go and look for, right? So Bentley key is your lookup value. The table array is basically where should Excel find that particular lookup value. So your child looks back at you and says, Folashade looks back at you and says, where should I find your Bentley key? You basically have to tell, oh, the key to the Bentley is in the closet or my shoe closet. So you're basically specifying, search my entire shoe closet. But Folashade knows you have a very big shoe closet. So she's basically looking back at you. Mommy, you have a big closet. Where exactly in your shoe closet should I look for your Bentley key? Oh, you're like, oh, sorry, ma binu okomi. It is on the second layer in my shoe closet. So basically, Folashade now knows where exactly to go. I'm going inside the house, I'm going to mommy's bedroom, I'm going to mommy's shoe closet, and I'm going on the second layer to pick a Bentley key, the exact Bentley key. If you see Mercedes key, it's not, they can look alike, but it's not Mercedes. It's Bentley I want to pick. I hope we now understand that simple story, and this is how VLOOKUP also works. That is, Excel is basically asking you, what are you looking for? I wrote Adenike the other time. Where do you, the table array basically speaks to, where do you want me to find Adenike, right? So I have to specify an array to say, look for Adenike in this small array. Column index number basically means, okay, so how many columns should I count to the, while I'm going from left to right? How many columns should I count? I specified count 2 columns, that is column 1, column 2. And give me an exact match. But he didn't find Adenike, that's why he returned not found. So that is what VLOOKUP is. VLOOKUP has some rules that says it can only look from, your lookup value necessarily has to be on the leftmost part of the table or the leftmost part of your array, and it can only look from left to right, all right? Basically, that's the simple explanation I can give for VLOOKUP right now. So let's look at how we would then use this correction table to correct those errors. So I can bring the class back. Right, so let's do a simple example of how VLOOKUP works. So I want to tell it to look for low fat, that is LOFAT. So I'm going to say, look, my lookup value is low fat. I can reference it. Table array, I can highlight the entire table array here. Column index number. So it's basically asking me the corresponding thing you want me to return. What column is it? When you're counting from where you have highlighted or from your lookup value, how far is it from your lookup value? So how far is it from your lookup? In this case, I just wanted to check the second column. So I'm just going to write 2. And the last argument, while the last argument is optional, usually it's advisable you go for an exact match. So I'm going to press 0. In Excel, when you see true or false, the false basically means an exact match, and it's also denoted as 0. It's binary, it's either 0s or 1 or true or false. So that's why I'm writing 0. And I'll close that bracket and it will return it for me. Right, so with that understanding, I'm going to bring it here. I'm going to bring it to product far content. And so we're going to be using if error and VLOOKUP. We're going to use them together. So I'm going to insert so that we can compare before and after. So I'm going to write corrected spelling here. Corrected spelling. And then, so we're going to use if error and VLOOKUP. So I'm going to call if error equal to if error. Now it's asking me value. So first off, this is where I'm going to insert my VLOOKUP. So I'm going to say VLOOKUP, lookup value. So I want to tell it, look up this low fat, the ones that the spelling is not correct, right? I want to tell it, look up this thing that the spelling is not correct. Look up in a correction table. So I've created a correction table in this other sheet. That is correction table in the sense that I've wrote the misspellings and I've wrote the correction of those spellings. So all of those things that are wrong, they have their correction here. So I'm going to tell Excel, look up that in this array. So I'm going to select the array. By selecting the array, I also want to fix it so that it doesn't shift. That's another concept, or the concept of absolute reference, or the concept of cell locking in Microsoft Excel. And to lock it so it doesn't shift, just go that. You can ask me that question after the class to understand what cell locking means or what absolute referencing means if you do not understand it. So to lock the cell, I'm going to press F4 on my keyboard. Some other keyboard manufacturers, you may have to press the function key and F4, or just F4. In some other, but on my own laptop, I have to press F4. So you can see automatically it added some dollar signs. In some cases, if your F4 is not working, just manually write the dollar sign. That's the only thing that I can advise. So really, so I've logged it. So the next argument inside VLOOKUP is column index number. That is, so how many columns should I count? Because the corrected one is on the second column. I'm going to still write 2. And the next argument says range lookup is an exact match. So I'm going to write 0 or false. Then I'm going to close the bracket for that VLOOKUP. Remember that the original function we're using is if error, right? So the second argument after value is value if error. Please just follow me. So in this case, we want to tell Excel back that if you do not find in this case, we want to tell Excel back that if you do not find low fats, LO fats in that, just return the original thing. So I want to tell you that if you look for low fats and you cannot find the corrected spelling, or if it's still the same thing, just return the original value. So I'm just going to click to say if you don't find it, just return what was there before, and that will take care of the ones that are in corrected format, that is LOWFAT. All right. Okay, again, I'm going to take question because I know some people would have question already. So I'm going to close the bracket that way, and I've closed the bracket for VLOOKUP, and I've also closed the bracket for if error, and I'm going to hit enter. Now, what this does is, trust me, this thing is not taking time. It's because I'm taking time to explain it. What it does is, in less than 2 minutes, I've been able to correct the entire data set. That is, the one that has L, the one that has low fat, the one that has LW, and all of that. Everything has automatically been corrected. I only wrote one function, and it's corrected the entire thing. So let's double check to see. So we can see low fat. So let me just, the ones that used to have L here. So I'm just going to highlight all the wrong ones and the normal fats. So I highlighted all the wrong ones. So let's look at it together. So we can see LOFAT, it already has the corrected spelling, LOWFAT. The one that has a funny normal spelling, in the new one that we did, it already has the corrected one. Which other ones haven't we? The one that has L, just ordinary L, it now has low fat. And that's what a correction table would help you do, right? I believe that is clear. I want to believe there would also be questions, but please note your question that I also want to be ensured that we're still within time. Right, so that's the way an Adrelani or an Adeyemi would treat inconsistent data set or spelling errors. So I'm going to clear the filter. We have the corrected spelling. You can do the same thing. I could send this Excel file to us after the class, and so you can practice. You can do the same thing for the store opening year, the one that has SO6, SO4. Let's quickly look at it. You can see some has S004, X006, X009. You know those years, they are supposed to be 2004, 2006, and 2009. So you already did a correction table, and you can just use if error and VLOOKUP, and just use it to update or amend it. So basically, I will send this worksheet. Everybody can have it, and you can send it back if you want to be sure that I will take a look. I will take a look. And the same, you can do the same thing for the medium the spelling corrections inside supermarket site, so you're sure that you understand the entire concept. All right, so we've corrected the spellings, of which you can also extend that knowledge of correction table to supermarket opening year. You can also use it for supermarket size. Just create a new column. Now let's look at how we can treat blanks. Now we can see on the supermarket size, we can see a lot of blanks, and it shouldn't be. So let's assume it's just one value that you want to put in all of the blanks. That is, maybe you want to put a word, something like not available, but you don't want to see blanks. One method would be somebody like Zainab would filter out and probably just check the blanks like this, right? And just write that same one word and fill it, which there's really no crime with it. However, there's another method. So let's quickly check the other method of how you can automatically populate or fill blank. Of course, you can filter all the blanks. You can use the fill handle and just drop it down. You can use copy and paste, just copy and be pasting it all over. But the other method is to use the go to special dialog box. So I'm going to highlight this entire column that the blanks are in, and I'm going to press Ctrl G. Ctrl G, I will go to special. Under special, I will say select blanks. So I will expect Excel to select or to highlight all the blanks. And I'm going to say OK. Now I'll wait for it to basically select the blank and give me. So basically what I want to do here is to, inside one blank, I would write whatever it is I want to write. Let's say not specified, or let's say all of the blank ones should have medium. So I'm just, okay, it's ready for me now. I'm just going to write medium in that first cell. So I'm going to write medium. What is spelling of medium? Medium. And I will press, this time instead of me hitting enter, I'll press Control Enter. So Control Enter. And you can see that throughout the document or throughout this particular column, it has put mediums, and I'm not going to find blanks again. Right? So that's another way to clear blank at a go. Right. So the last one is to format as currency. You can see, so everything that has to do with figures here, supermarket sales, product price, you can format them as currency. That is kind of pretty straightforward. You can highlight the entire column, come to your home tab, your number groups. Okay, because I usually, by the time I want to format a currency, when I'm working with Nigeria data, I would like to add the Nigerian naira. If I'm working with pounds, I like to add the pounds. If I'm working with yen or won, I want to put the exact symbol. So here I want to format as currency, and it will ask me for the symbol. So I'm going to look for Nigerian naira. So Nigerian naira in Microsoft Excel comes in the names of the tribes. I don't know why, but it came in Yoruba, Fulani, but maybe because I'm a Yoruba person, so I prefer to go with the Yoruba one. The other ones put the naira at the back. So Yoruba, I feel more comfortable using Yoruba. So this is what I'm talking about. So you can see Edo, Fula, Hausa, Ibibio, Igbo, Kanuri. I really don't know what gave them the idea, but I just go for the Yoruba because it will put the naira in front. Right, so you can leave the decimal places as 2 decimal places, and there we go. We already have the Nigerian naira in front of all the numbers. So basically, that brings me to wrap up the demo session for this, and I'll be happy to take questions. I've already given us 2 assignments that says use the 2-column correction table, use it to adjust or to clean for supermarket size, or to also clean for the date. So here is where I would ask if there are questions. Are there any questions? Somebody was raising their hand the other time. Chineye was raising her hand the other time. So questions, Chineye, your hand is still raised. Chineye, do you have a question? All right, let's take Kemi. Kemi has a question. Kemi, please go for it. Your hand was raised first.
Yeah, good evening.
Hi, good evening.
Yes, I joined the meeting late. So
Okay.
please can you take me back to how to create a column?
Okay. All right. All right.
Thank
Thank you. All right. I'll do that in a minute. Rita, Rita, can you ask your question?
Good evening, Tayo.
Hi. Good evening.
So where you did if error, can one use just if for it?
Okay. Thank you. All right. Let me take you from Kemi's question, and we'll come to Rita's question. All right. I'm going to share my. Chinaya, are you still with us? Okay. So I'm going to share my screen again, and we'll quickly take Kemi's question first. All right. So Kemi, can you see my screen?
Yes.
All right, you can employ different methods to create, to add a, or to insert a new column. So for
Okay.
example, you can highlight the entire column here, then right click. I'm a mouse person. So different people have their styles. Some people use keyboard shortcuts. I'm not so much of a keyboard shortcut person. I'm a mouse and I'm a wired mouse person. I don't know if you can see this. I use my mouse, but I don't even like using my touchpad. Um, so for me, I just because Excel understands that it's a column I want to, because I've highlighted one column already. It understands that it's a column I want to insert. I just click insert and it inserts one to the left.
Okay, okay.
Yeah,
I've seen it.
you can also come to the cells group under your home tab. You will see the first option here is insert, and it will ask what you want to insert. You want to insert cell, insert whatever. So do you understand?
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome. All right, going to Rita's question. Rita, so there's
Hello,
if.
can you hear me now? Sorry.
Yeah, who's that, please?
Hey,
Who's
okay,
that?
this is Chine. So I wanted to know, sorry, I want to know how you were able to separate the Chukwudi, the numbers, how were you able to separate into different columns? It
All
was
right.
cracking from my end when you were doing that.
Okay, not a problem. I'll quickly take
Thank
that.
you.
All right. So going back to Rita's question. So Rita, if and if error, they don't do the same job. While if is a logical function, or is a logical function to basically say, if you see Coke, if you go to the mall, buy Coke. If you don't see Coke, buy Fanta. If you don't see Fanta, buy. That's basically what if does. Basically what if. So if you look at if, right, that's basically what if does. Logical test, value if, and value if false. So it's basically, oh, go to Circle Mall, buy me a bottle of Coke. If Coke is true, then we're good. If Coke is not true, or if you do not have Coke, buy me Fanta. Basically, that's what if does. However, if error takes care of if an error is going to happen, instead of you giving me the error, don't give me the error, give me something else. Then I will specify what you should give me instead. So you cannot use if for this purpose. You cannot use if in place of if error. I don't know if I answered your question well, Rita.
Yes, yes, you've done it. And also for the if error, must I add the VLOOKUP there? Can I just do if error without adding VLOOKUP?
Of course. So if error is an independent function, depending on the context, or you are the one that understands what you want to do, right? Depending on what you want to treat or what you want to do, you can. If error is an independent function on its own. So in this case, in my case, I had to use VLOOKUP because I didn't even know the value. I didn't know how to quickly get the value out by myself. So I needed VLOOKUP to help me find the value first. Do you
All
understand?
right. All right, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. So Chine, so
Yes,
switching,
please.
splitting text to column. So this is what I did. Let's see, is there any text to column here? So let me copy this. Let me copy this column. I'm going to put it here. And I'm going to basically tell Excel to split all the items here, to split it into their individual components. So I want to see frozen, I want to see fruit, I want to see health, I want to say and hygiene in different columns. So I'll highlight the entire data set or the entire column. I'll come to my data tab. In the data tools group, you see text to columns. and I will select the delimited option because I want to specify the, the delimiter, or that is what should I use after, what should I separate them, or what should Excel use to separate them? What should I look at in the data set to understand that, okay, Taya wants to separate this thing. In this case, the delimiter I want to use is space. So I want to use space to separate that. Once you read the first thing, once you come across space, have anything after that space, separate it into a separate column. If there's space again, separate that other third thing into a separate column. That's what you want to tell Excel. So I'm going to say next. So Excel is looking at it. So tab, semicolon, comma, space. So I'm going to check the box for space. This order, because there's no what's it called, underscore here. I can uncheck it because it's useless. There's really no underscore in my data set, right? But I'll check the one that has space because there's space there. So it has given me a preview to say this way it will look like. Product type, there will be another column, and it will split everything because there's it can smell space there. So you need to say next, and I'm going to say finish, and it's going to split everything into separate columns. Did you get that?
Yes, I did. Thank you very much.
All right, you're welcome. So in the example we did, because the delimiter was underscore, so we used underscore to separate them. Right, Jalil, I believe that's a new hand. Kemi, do you want to lower your hand, or you have another question? All right, Jalil, please go for it.
Hi, Tayo.
Hello.
Thank you. Please, I wanted to ask a question. So it is somehow not related to this, but it is. Hold on, please.
Yeah, that's fine.
Don't worry. It is somehow not related to this, but it's still part of data cleaning because we may not actually encounter these problems as you've explained it. So the issue that I had was I was trying to. It is still based on the splitting that I had the issue. So I had a data set that came in year format. So the year was let's say January 2009. So it was written as 200901. That's the same thing for all the months in 2009. So let's say for December now, 200912. So what I needed to do was to split it into quarters. So I needed 2009 Q1 for January, February, March, 2009 Q4 for December 2009. So what I did, which I believe there will still be an easier thing to do. What I did was very long, but I believe there's always an easier way to do things in Excel. Yeah. So what I did was to first split. I used left, I picked the first 4. I used right, I picked the last 2. I put Q in the middle and now join the 3 columns. So I now use.
No worry, continue. Sorry, I'm laughing.
So I believe I got the desired result at the end of the day, but it just took me more time, which I believe there's always a simpler way to do it. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Jalil. So I believe if you ask me, the simplest way you could have done it is to insert a pivot table. So pivot table automatically even identifies the moment the entire data set, the moment is formatted as dates, that column, the moment is in date format. Once you insert a pivot table, it automatically breaks it down, years, quarters, date. If you wanted to split it to weeks, it will split it. So you could have used a pivot table. Have you registered for the data analytics class?
I actually used the pivot table. I changed so when I changed the data type for that particular column to date, it changed the entire numbers to 40, like 2009.
Okay. So usually in Excel, there is the numbering format for date. The date in Excel starts from 1st of January 1900. So you would see 001. So like the year we're in 2023, it should be seeing 44,000. And so by 1900, the next 2nd of January 1900 will be 002, like that. So it counted days. It starts counting days. So what would naturally happen is date format. So let's quickly put some, because we still have some time, but ideally what you would do is go to the date format, or format or the entire column as date, then go to pivot table. When you go to pivot table, once you select the date, Excel will automatically convert it to you wanted to see them in quarters, right? It will automatically split all of them to quarters and months, and you can still further see it in days. So it break it into quarters, months, and days. But a pivot table would have helped. And for the issue of, oh, you started seeing it is 44,000 and something, you could just go back to tell Excel to, format it as days. Right. Jalil, did that help?
Yeah, I'll try it. Thank
Please double
you.
check. Double check. So when when you see that 44,000 and something, go to your date format, change it to short date. It should come back to normal. Then use a pivot table.
All right. Thank you.
All right, you're welcome. Afolabi would be the last person I'll take, so that I really don't want people to drop off the call before we finish the call itself. All right, Afolabi, go for it. Did you go off the call, Afolabi? You raised your hand. Afolabi, was that an error? You don't want to ask your question anymore? All right. Okay, Olakweju. So Olakweju will take Afolabi's space. Go for it, Olakweju.
Good evening. Thank you so
Hi.
much, Dayo, for the masterclass. I don't know if someone had asked this question when I went off the call. I want to ask how you locked the Excel worksheet.
Okay, you mean how I use the $sign to lock it, to lock the cell?
Yes, the correction
Okay.
sheet. Then I want to also ask about the correction sheet. How did you just create it? How did you create it? Did you just create it like the old the wrong values, then the correct values, or is there any specific way you used to create?
Okay, can you see my screen? So
Yes, I can see your screen.
So if I understand your question, you wanted to know how we inserted these $signs about the locking, right?
Yes.
Is that what you're?
Then the correction, yes, this then the correction sheet. The correction
Okay.
table looks different from.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right, thank you. For the locking of cell, I used on my keyboard, I pressed F4. So for example, if I'm saying equal to this multiplied by this, if I want to lock this F2, I just need to press F4 that I just did now, and it will add those $signs. That means I want to lock F4. That is, I want Excel to put the value in that cell F2, that is 2006 that was seen. I want Excel to make it a constant, that it does not shift to 2009 or keep shifting down. So that's what the locking does for you. Then for the correction table that we're on right now, I basically just identified the misspellings when I filtered them out, and I saw that, oh, these are the wrong spellings. I just copied it, put it in this sheet, right? And I wrote the correct spelling. So I just wrote low fat ones and dragged it down. And the one that had the normal fat, I wrote the correct spelling of normal, and I formatted it in table format. That is this, just the same way I formatted this in table format, and so they look, it's the same table. It's just that this table has green, this table has blue, this table has blue, and it's part of the formatting of table. If you go to table design, you can change this one to blue too, and it will look bluish. I hope that answers it. I don't know who.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so thank you everyone. Before we go, or before I close the meeting, so I'd like to, this is more like the last call for the data analytics class that is starting this Saturday. Was going to be starting with Microsoft Excel. Adenika, you can please help me put the URL there in the chat room. We're going to be starting with Microsoft Excel, and it's going to happen over a course of 4 weekends. That is Saturdays and Sundays till October 22, 2023. We're going to be diving deeper into each of these concepts. We're going to start from introductory level, and we'll go through to intermediate and advanced level. From introduction to spreadsheet, we'll do visualization, how you can achieve automation in Microsoft Excel, how you can build data models, and of course, we are going to look at some bonus materials where you can use AI within Microsoft Excel, how you can automate boring tasks using Power Query, and we're going to cover this over a period of 8 classes in every Saturdays and Sundays. That is 4 weekends. So 2 classes happen Saturday, Sunday. That's 2 classes. Then the next weekend, and we're going to be having assignment capstone project that is going to be basically help us to that's going to be keeping us guided. For the people who have registered and paid for the class, you've probably received a lot of reading materials, maybe not a lot, but fantastic reading materials to keep you going. So if you would like to register for the class also, please click the link in the chat room. I believe Adenike has shared it. Click the link in the chat room, or if you still feel you have questions on the landing page or on the website that Adenike has dropped in the chat room, you will see book a free consultation. So you can still book a consultation. Today is Thursday, tomorrow is Friday. Well, you still have Friday. We can still talk before the class starts on Saturday morning. Right. So that brings us to the end of the class. I want to believe that I've been able to answer a lot of questions that people may have. And so thank you so much. Discount allowed. Jalil, don't tell me you're asking for discount. All right. Maybe if you bring, this multi-level marketing, bring 4 people and you get 10% off. Don't mind me. All right. So thank you so much, everyone. Thank you for joining the call. Yes, Jalil, I've seen your chats, but no, for this particular one, we're going to deal with Microsoft Excel, and I believe you would it really enhance your task at work. Thank you everyone for coming to the call. So please watch out for the webinar replay. I'm going to send you the replay. I would also attach the worksheets so you can practice. If you can practice. So the webinar replay will be posted on YouTube. You can ask your question. I will be sure to answer them. All right. Thank you, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your evening. And also in the chat room, there's survey feedback. Please, we'd like to always make things better, classes better. So please pick the Google form in the chat room, fill it, or the survey form rather. Please fill it and let us know how we're doing so we can improve on this. All right. Thank you so much, everyone, and enjoy the rest of your evening.
Thank you.
Thank you, too. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, Jalil. Bye.